Welcome back. You're still watching the morning show here on Arise News, and joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni. Good morning, Mr. Efeni.
Good morning, Leila.
Good morning,
Ruben.
Good morning, Efeni.
After a very rainy weekend.
Oh, terrible rain.
Yes. And
it rained in your neck of the woods too.
Yes, but I enjoyed it totally.
You did?
I was sleeping all through.
Okay, me too.
Now, let's look at the papers, starting with these day newspapers. Lead story. Governors to demand state's share of Federation account in dollars. Fayemi restates opposition to NFIU's directive to banks on joint accounts. This is a new one coming from the governors. They want their share of the Federation account in dollars, despite the fact that not all revenues into that account comes in dollars. Now, basically, they are targeting the oil revenue, which comes in dollars. But they seem to have a point, because perhaps they can get more in terms of a naira value if they get their money in dollars. But even the federal government seems to be changing itself. At the time, the government is looking for funds here and there to fund infrastructure and education, health. The government is exchanging the naira, the dollar at 305. And a lot of economists have said that the government can make do with that difference if they allow the actual rate, which is what is...
They're predicating their budgets at
yes,
360.
360.
So there's like a $55 margin there.
Yeah, so the governors seem to have a point, but...
They don't have a point.
But
Stop dressing it up. They don't have a point.
They don't have a point?
No, they don't have a point. But, you know, we can talk about, you know, multiple exchange rates.
Which is part of the problem.
Yes, which is something that people have complained about many times. You know, I think Mr. Peter Obi, who just left the set before you came, he made the point. He's been there before. He's been governor. And he drew attention to these multiple windows of exchange rate. We have 3 or 4 windows,
yes,
including a special window for pilgrims. Now, the bigger point that an average Nigerian should be concerned with is not about sharing, which is the point that he also made. It's also about productivity, creativity. Yeah. Many of these states, you know, they keep carrying a cap in hand to look for money from Federation account from Section 162 because they are centers of no productivity.
They are not doing it on you. How can we consider entitlement?
How can we make those states productive?
Yeah. You
know, many of these states can be productive in such a manner that everything is not about sharing. It's not about the national cake.
But more about
that's
autonomy.
One major takeaway, you know, from what he said.
But you are blaming the states. Is the country itself productive enough?
But this is what...
Is the federal government doing enough to enhance productivity?
But this is what Mr.
So it's not just blaming the states that they are not doing
productive.
enough.
The governors are always asking for money. Yes, okay, fine. You're asking for money. How accountable are they? What is the level of wastage in the states? There's a theory of the leaky bucket that we studied in one of these many programs that one attends. You know, you have buckets leaking everywhere. Yeah. So these are the kind of things we should be talking about before we start talking about a likely fascination with dollars.
And then looking at, like Kayode Fayemi also said in this report, Nigeria is a two-tier government, he referred to it as, and he spoke about the fallacies that can sometimes come with the idea of a three-tier government and how we all chase that same national cake. What Mr. Peter Obi said is, why don't we have a middle ground for this? He literally just said, we can think of a middle ground in a way where we reduce that exchange rate, but we're also not touching the 305. We come somewhere in the middle around 345.
And then in any case, one of the demands from the states is the review of the revenue allocation formula. How do you place this side by side, the review of the revenue allocation?
Perhaps if we don't have these multiple exchange rates, then this demand by the governors will not even come into play in the first place. But let's move on. It's a debate that will continue for some time.
Yeah.
Now, the Guardian newspaper, lead story, PDP APC in fresh fight ahead of Supreme Court ruling. Nigeria tired of despot forgers, says opposition party. Ruling party flees irresponsible, rudderless alliance. The brickbats from the two major political parties once again, but I don't see too much substance from both what both parties are saying. The APC saying that the PDP is not giving them the kind of opposition that should put them on their toes, and that Nigeria is almost becoming a one-party system. But I don't think the ruling party should be bothered about why the opposition is not putting it on its toes.
Yeah, it's a bit funny to hear that coming from the ruling party.
I thought the ruling party should be happy that if indeed there was less opposition,
is not stressing them.
Yes, that they have time to pursue their programs, which they have for Nigeria. Perhaps because Nigerians are also complaining about the ruling party, they think the opposition should do more to put them on their toes. I don't understand that, Ruben.
Well, I mean, it may just be an intellectual position to say that in a democracy you need a robust,
opposition,
virile, strong opposition.
Is it the ruling party that should be looking for opposition, angling for opposition?
I think they have more issues to worry about than what their opposition...
It could be, you could also interpret it as an expression of confidence.
That's true.
You guys say you are the opposition. Oh yeah, come, take us on.
That we don't feel any sort of threat.
I mean, do your work as the opposition. Let's engage each other. And then, of course, you see the PDP not standing up enough. But, you know, Mr. Peter Obi, who was the vice presidential candidate of that party, says it is not true, that the PDP is not giving enough challenge, and that the party has been doing well as an opposition party. Didn't he say so?
Yeah, he's the same person who justified why Atiku has been out of Nigeria and quiet. So he's going to say what he has to say.
We're still on the front page.
Leila, that's not fair.
Still on the front page of The Guardian, you see the photograph on the front page of The Guardian newspaper. Yes, that Aisha Buhari, the wife of the president of the First Lady, which is a title these days, I cannot confirm now, but I know...
No, she said she should be addressed as First Lady. She issued a statement.
But she's still the wife of the president.
But then she came back to issue a statement.
She's the wife of the president. The president has not married another wife. So she's the wife of the president.
That's why she just randomly returned.
So she's back. And she gave reasons why she's been away for 2 months, taking care of her health outside the country. Yes, she once complained about the Asoro clinic. So I'm not surprised that she had to take care of her health outside the country, Ruben. Absolutely. You said you've been there.
You have been mischievous.
You've been there. You know how. Was that the state of that clinic when you were there?
If you want to criticize the First Lady, criticize her and say she should not have traveled abroad for medical attention.
I am justifying...
Just say it straight.
I'm justifying her traveling abroad because she was the one who complained that the Aso Rock clinic is not up to speed.
Basically, she's just a woman of her word, that's all.
Yes, but she's back and all the rumors flying. Yes, she confirmed that that video we saw was herself, but it was...
video.
Yes, an old video. How that video came out of the Aso Rock into the social media is what I think people should be asking, since he has confirmed that it is authentic.
Well, but Efeni, for me, the big issue with regard to the wedding that took place on social media.
The wedding that never was.
But it took place on social media.
The wedding that never was.
We saw photographs, we saw all kinds
place.
of things. It's about the threat of fake news and fake speech. You know, and sometimes when you have this kind of event, some of the people who talk about,
censoring,
online regulation and all of that, you tend to think that they probably have a point. Because look, you can cause an entire crisis. You can destabilize an entire country by somebody with some cheap phone, you know, creating a story, putting photographs together, fake news, fake speech, and then the thing goes viral. We saw the effect of the virality of online messaging. And everybody was... people even printed invitation cards.
But this is why
looking very real, looking very authentic.
Regulations
but also,
so it's very frightening.
But Ruben,
it's something we ought to worry about.
Ruben, garnished with a genuine video of the First Lady.
Which video? Even the
Which
video.
she confirmed.
Even the video was
that
fake.
although it was an old one.
Yeah, it was an old one. It was misplaced. It was decontextualized.
So how did that video come out of Aso
But
Rock?
it's the way in which the story has been formed around they've done everything they can to try and bring pieces together to make this seem like what it is. But facts of the matter is, even if this was to be a true situation, I don't understand why we allowed it to become so topical to the point where we're actually crossing that border of fake news that we shouldn't even take a risk with. We shouldn't be taking that risk.
No, we ought to worry seriously about fake
True,
news.
I agree with you. But
although I must say that Nigerians will have loved the president to. Well, I won't complete that line of thought.
Okay, let's move on from rumors. The First Lady is back.
Because the way you guys were congratulating the president.
No, the First Lady is back. She's happy.
We thank God.
No contest in her domain, in her space. So we welcome her back.
No competition in the other room.
Oh, wow.
Let's move on, Ruben. The Punch newspaper, minimum wage, Labour governors talk tough, fresh crisis over negotiation. Prepare for strike. NLC tells state councils government can't pay what it doesn't have. Fire me. Of course, the Labour issue is still on, and by Wednesday we should know the position. We move on to the foreign newspapers. The state of Brexit. The Times of UK, EU tells Johnson to give more ground on Brexit. And if we look at the other paper, the Daily Telegraph, fury as EU demands more Brexit concessions. But many top Brexiteers are saying, you know what, enough is enough. We're not going to give an inch. And if they do so, perhaps whatever deal they come up with may not pass through Parliament. Yeah. But this Queen's speech will also be coming up later in the day. And that Queen's speech is loaded with issues of law and order from the revelations by the Prime Minister. The issues of law and order, tougher sentences for foreign criminals, series of offenders barred from early release. Offenders, serious offenders, there are issues that will prevent them from getting early releases. These issues will be unveiled in the Queen's speech later in the day.
Thank you, Efeni.
Thank
That's
you,
all we'll be able to take. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.
Absolutely.